Hey guys, the channel is at risk of being taken down. Unfortunately, I can't live stream for at least 90 days. My channel is under review with 2 copyright strikes. I just want to thank you guys for the support so much, and thank you. This is Entertain House, and I've just received intel from MI6 that Doctor Who has returned with episode 1, Spyfall. Let's review it. So guys, first I'll speak about spoiler-free things in this video. Welcome to the return of Doctor Who, and in my opinion, this is a massive return for Doctor Who. I hope things are taking a step in the right direction. I was not too excited for this episode building up, but over the last 3 days, or maybe even since Christmas Day when they released like a final trailer, hype was building inside me for this show to come back. Anyway, non-spoiler review is that I really enjoyed this episode. It is worth watching, especially if you haven't watched the show in a while. I think this will divide fans a lot, and I've been saying that about a few different things. I think Hollywood are taking big, risky move, and so do the BBC. In Spyfall Part 1 of a 2-parter that we get Part 2 on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to. Character development. There was a lot of character development, which I'll speak about in a moment in the spoiler bit. The actual story itself was quite good, but I found it really complicated to follow. And I kind of like that about Doctor Who. That's my opinion. Even if there's some questions that are unanswered, I like a complex story where you've got to unravel it and kind of solve it for yourself without having some help. The acting, for the most part, was fairly good. Stephen Fry and Lenny Henry? Yeah, Lenny Henry. That's his name. Sir Lenny Henry, I believe. Very good in the episode. Guest stars, as well as Sasha. I forget his surname. But from memory, I think he was in Sherlock. Also good. And as I said, the story is very complex. It jumps from place to place, but the pacing doesn't feel too bad. At the start it did, kind of felt like, even though I think the episode really worked, it felt a bit like The Magician's Apprentice, where we were jumping from lots of different places. But in my opinion, The Magician's Apprentice is a better opener. But no, a really solid episode of Doctor Who, a return to form. That is my spoiler-free review. Go and check it out if you haven't. Anyway, guys, let's get into the spoilers of Spyfall Part 1. So going into Spyfall, I actually had fairly low expectations, but I did have huge hopes for this series, and I hope it continues in this direction. For the most part, I enjoyed Spyfall. There were some things wrong with it. As I said, the pacing was a little bit off, jumping from planet to planet. It felt like a true spy story and kind of a tribute to Bond with its own little twist. There are 2 things I think that could be happening, which I'll speak about later in the video. As for character development, I mentioned it. I really like the fact that Yaz is under secondment and may not be happy in the role of a police officer, may not be happy where she is. Just some character development that I think we'll get to see this season. It's good to see that. I also like that they were mentioning Graham's wife and the passing, addressing that issue outside of being a companion in the real world, and dealing with such a big loss is hard for Graham to come to face, as well as Ryan with his friend. It's always good to see the companions in their own little, I guess you can say, world compared to the worlds that they go around. The Doctor herself was fairly weak in at the beginning, in my opinion. She got a lot better as the episode went on. I'm still not completely hooked on Jodie as the Doctor, but I do enjoy her. I love Broadchurch. I love other thing. I just don't know what I think yet, and I think this series will determine, because I've had 1 series, and by 2, then there's something wrong if I don't completely like it. But a good spy story. Stephen Fry, in my opinion, was quite underused. But when you have such a big guest star on Doctor Who, you don't expect much to happen. I didn't expect him to have quite a big role. This was kind of the role I was expecting, but I just hoped for more. Lenny Henry himself as the villain, very exciting. And as I spoke about, the actor that plays O, who was this kind of secluded character who really kept to himself. He had all this spy gear though, and it was just intriguing. The beginning of the episode involving these ghost monsters, which I'll speak about in a moment, was really creepy. It was creepy. They were picking off these agents one by one on a plane, on a hunting field. It was just creepy. And the monsters themselves seem very original. They don't seem like they're being copied from anywhere. I got kind of Army of Ghosts vibes, and that's what I'm thinking could actually be happening in Series 12, but we'll have to wait and see about that. Let's talk more. Now, Sacha Darwin's character, obviously, I'm blown away with. I am so blown away with this twist. I didn't see it coming. I thought the development for him himself was so cool, and I kind of did get the feeling he was a double agent, but I never would have guessed that he was the Master. Now, I did feel like this twist was recycled, which annoys me. It would have been cool to see another Time Lord, but the fact that he used the hint Spy Master was a little nice tea, and the whole technology that he kept inside, which is very cool because I'm from Australia, so I was very happy to see Australia in this episode. The technology in this house, which obviously floats around at the end of the episode, was really cool. It looked like Time Lord kind of technology with symbols on it. It's going to be interesting to see what the direction of the series is, considering this is the opener, and these ghost things potentially could be the arc of the series, and it'll be interesting to see if the Master is working with the Cybermen, because this happened already in Series 8, and I kind of get the feeling that this potentially could be the Cybermen from the parallel universe. There are a few hints in this episode that led me to believe in this. The other theory that I have, which is mental, and it looked like it was carpet that Yaz and the Doctor at the end of the episode were in, but it obviously wasn't. And it made me think, what is smaller than atoms? And that is the antimatter universe. And that made me think, what if the main villain for Series 12 of Doctor Who is the Omega? Mind blown. I know, if that would be cool. I'm thinking too much here, but it seems like this could be potentially an antimatter universe, or the return of a parallel universe Cybermen, as I know they're coming back later in the series. I know the Jadoon are coming back. I am so hyped for this series. As I said, Lenny Henry, good villain, enjoyable, need to know more to the story, and I think we'll get that in part 2. Sacha Darwin, a creepy, intriguing Master. I'm very excited to see what he has to offer. He sold me within 5 minutes. At first when it happened, I'm like, this guy, okay, I'm giving it a chance. And when he started doing this laugh, he just channeled this inner John Sim, Michelle Gomez energy. And I am someone who hasn't enjoyed Doctor Who too much. I didn't really like Series 11, but I am a big fan. I watch old episodes quite regularly. I enjoy Doctor Who. And this episode just felt like a grand return. I hope it can follow up in Spyfall Part 2, because quite often we have kind of a sucky two-parter, or a great Part 1, and then an average Part 2. One example of this, I think, is, when was it? I'm having a blank right now, but there was one episode where I think it was The Impossible Astronaut. Love Part 1. Day of the Moon was kind of it for me. I was like, this is a bit... It had some important things that led on to Series 6. But just a fun story. The Doctor herself didn't get too much development, in my opinion, so we'll have to wait and see. I love the fact that the Master made the bomb sonic-proof. Really interesting to see where Lenny Henry's character, and if these ghost things are a potential Army of Go antimatter universe. Guys, drop your Doctor Who theories in the comments. Let me know how you feel about Spyfall Episode 1. I've missed having Doctor Who on this channel, so if you're new, please do subscribe, because these videos are going to be out every week. Look, if I didn't have this trouble going on with my channel, without a doubt, I would have done a reaction to Doctor Who Spyfall, but unfortunately, this is all I can do. I may do breakdowns throughout the series, and if I just am so blown away. I just finished watching the episode, and this is my, I guess you can say, raw reaction. I love it. It's back to form. Hopefully this isn't a one-off. I hope this is the direction that they go in this series. I haven't been a fan of Chibnall's writing, but I commend him for this episode. It felt slow in parts, but for me, Spyfall was very good. Part 1, I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10. I think this episode is very deserving of this rating. As I said, pacing, things like that, felt a bit jumpy, had a few issues there. Acting for the most part was pretty cool. Could have known more to the story, may have got me a little bit more intrigued, but I actually am so intrigued. A great cliffhanger. Would have been nice to see the words "to be continued" on screen, but I guess they're going with classic Doctor Who vibe. And it really felt towards the end like it was a classic Doctor Who episode, not just 2005 series. I'm talking the 80s, the 70s, an episode where it ends and you're not sure of the direction that's going to happen next. Anyway, guys, Yaz, Graham and Ryan all on a plane, trapped, blown up. The Doctor in what I think could be an antimatter universe or a parallel universe, and the Master has gotten away. I think we'll see the Master in part 2. I'm so excited, guys. Leave a comment on what you thought on the episode. Please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in Spyfall part 2 on Monday morning here in Australia.